All right, let's just jump right in. We all like to think we see the world as it is, but the truth is, we all experience it in our own unique way. But what happens when someone's reality is, well, fundamentally different from pretty much everyone else's? Today, we're going to explore that incredible and often really difficult connection between minds that see the world differently and the absolutely groundbreaking creativity that can come from that vision. And that, right there, is the central question we're tackling. See, your brain is constantly taking in this storm of information, sights, sounds, feelings, and it builds a coherent world for us to live in. But what happens when that building process takes a sharp turn? What emerges when the mind, goes completely off script? So to really get what it means to veer off course, we first have to understand the course itself. How does any brain, yours, mine, anyone's, actually construct what we call reality? Well, a really key idea here comes from the neuroscientist Anil Seth. He describes the brain as a prediction machine. Get this, it's not just passively taking in reality, it's actively creating it. It's making constant, tiny guesses about what it expects to see and hear and feel, and then it updates those predictions based on what actually happens. So our shared reality? It's basically just a massive agreement on a whole bunch of successful predictions. Okay, so now that we have that baseline, let's look at what happens when that prediction machine starts operating on a totally different frequency. And to do that, we are going to look at one of the most brilliant and complicated minds of the entire 20th century. We are talking, of course, about John Forbes Nash Jr. Now, you might know his story from the movie A Beautiful Mind, but the truth was even more complex. On the one hand, this man was an absolute titan of mathematics. His work literally reshaped modern economics. And here is the paradox that is right at the heart of what we're talking about. Nash's mind, which was battling schizophrenia, produced powerful hallucinations, visions that were not based in our shared reality at all. And this caused him just immense personal suffering. And yet, somehow, from inside that same chaotic mental world, he developed game theory. He saw patterns, he saw connections that nobody else did. His divergent reality, as disruptive as it was also the very source of his genius. And it turns out Nash wasn't some kind of anomaly. History is absolutely filled with visionaries whose greatest ideas seem to have sprung from a totally unique perception of the world. Let's look at a few more. First up, Nikola Tesla, the master of electricity. I mean, this guy was an inventor so far ahead of his time, it was almost like he was pulling ideas straight from the future. You see, Tesla didn't just think about his inventions, he saw them. He talked about having these intense, vivid visions where he could literally build, test, and run entire machines completely inside his mind. It was this ability to see a different reality, one where alternating currents were visible, tangible things, that let him create the AC motor and, electrify our entire world. And this pattern isn't just in science, we see it in art too, with the one and only Vincent van Gogh. I mean, just look at the Starry Night. That isn't just a painting of a night sky, it's a painting of how Van Gogh experienced the night sky. The swirling energy, the light that feels alive, that was his reality. His altered perceptions, which caused him so much pain, also allowed him to pour an emotional power into his art that still just completely captivates us. We even see this in the completely abstract world of pure mathematics, with an absolute genius named Srinivasa Ramanujan. Ramanujan had very little formal training, but he came up with thousands of original theorems that just baffled the world's greatest mathematicians. When they asked him how he did it, he would often say the formulas came to him in dreams, presented to him by a Hindu goddess. He wasn't following some logical proof. He was basically transcribing truths from a reality that only he could see. So we have this incredible pattern of genius, right? But, and this is so important to understand, this unique vision almost always comes with an incredibly heavy burden. It is both a gift and, very often, a curse. Because their prediction machines don't line up with everyone else's, these individuals often face just immense social pressure. Nash was isolated, he was institutionalized. Van Gogh suffered from terrible mental anguish and loneliness. Society tends to demand conformity, and those who can't or won't deliver it often pay a really steep personal price for their incredible gifts. And this brings us to a really critical distinction we have to make. It's so easy to romanticize these stories, but not all divergences from shared reality are creative or beneficial. We have to be able to tell the difference between genius and chaos. And here, the two paths couldn't be clearer. On one side, you have the creative visionary like a Nash or Tesla. They take their unique predictive model and they refine it into something new that ultimately helps society. They challenge the norms to create value. But the harmful outlier, they distort their model into something destructive. Their altered reality doesn't have a moral compass, and it ends up violating the very social contracts that hold us all together.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? How should we, as a society, approach these minds that just operate so differently from the norm?
Well, the process is actually pretty clear when you lay it out. It starts with an altered perception, a mind building its own unique reality. This leads to unique insights, to seeing patterns that everyone else misses. That insight then gets translated into a creative breakthrough. And finally, that breakthrough goes on to have a major societal impact. Recognizing this path is the first step. And this means our responsibility is clear. Our job isn't to try and force everyone into one single normal box. It's to develop the wisdom to tell the difference. We have to foster an environment where the visionary is supported and included, while at the same time, we're addressing the root causes of behavior that actually leads to harm. Ultimately, we just need to reframe how we think about this whole thing. These divergent realities, they aren't flaws in the system. They are the system's creative forge, the very source of those unexpected sparks that push all of humanity forward. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. In your own work, in your own life, what are the norms you just take for granted? And what might you discover if, just for a moment, you really try to see beyond them?